Did your dog ever come back?
Let me get up on the chair and take a look. Yes, actually, I got a dog right there. Look, I don't know if you can see him in front. Hey, Callie. Callie, wake up. There you go. How are you?
I broke out of jail to leave this comment. Keep the cops off my tail, will you, Dave?
Oh, it's the Truckosaurus. They're all going to go see Truckosaurus. If you're not there, you better be dead. And if you're in jail, if you're in jail. Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to Shop Talk. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Glenn. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing swell, Dave. How are you?
Doing well also. It looks like we got a lot of questions about the recent super generator episode, so why don't we dive right into those?
Yeah, and we're going to start with a big one here. Bill Pedler. Did your dog ever come back?
Let me get up on the chair and take a look.
Excellent. That's questions answered.
Yes, actually, I got a dog right there. Look, I don't know if you can see him in front. Hey, Callie. Callie, wake up. There you go. How are you? Yep, she's in frame there.
Yep, so she's paying attention. Cheslaw Pie. I broke out of jail to leave this comment. Keep the cops off my tail, will you, Dave?
Where did I steal that from? It's from The Simpsons. Oh, it's the Truckosaurus. They're all going to go see Truckosaurus. If you're not there, you better be dead. And if you're in jail, break out.
Oh, yeah. Reminds me of a story, but I can't tell it here. Sorry. Jordan Abendroth, 6458. What the hell do you need 600 amps of service for?
It's for when if everything got turned on at the same time, because it's a big property and it's got 4 AC units that could all be running at the same time in theory on a hot day. And you could be running the pool pumps and the fountains. And those are like 2 horsepower motors. I don't know what those pull in watts, but there's a lot of equipment like that. And in the wintertime, you'll be running different systems. There's a lot of heated floor, which is all electrical current. So a lot of square footage of heated floor takes a lot of amps. So the panels, there's 600 amps worth of panels because there's 3 200 amp phases, and you have to cover it with a generator. But I think we have other questions on that, so I will defer to the later questions, but that's the short answer.
Greg Bromage. What became of the EcoFlow setup you put in a couple of years ago?
I still have 2 of the EcoFlow Delta Pros. I have one that backs up the UPS in the server room that runs the Storinator. So I have the Storinator, and it's plugged into an Extreme Online UPS, which is probably good for about 45 minutes if the system goes down. And then that in turn is powered by the EcoFlow. And the EcoFlow is plugged into the wall. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. It feels right to me. As long as the EcoFlow doesn't have any problem with it, it doesn't seem to. So in theory, it gives me about 10 hours of runtime. It keeps recharging the Extreme UPS from the Delta Pro. And it seems to work. So.
And now you've got another selection of, is it lithium batteries or something that we were hauling around last time I was down there?
Yeah, I've got another big Delta Pro, and then I've got a small portable, like 1 kilowatt battery.
Okay.
And then for the PDP-11, we also did a set of 3 lithium-ion, they're like big car battery, 4 of them, I guess I did. That's
what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I've got those in a cabinet, and so I can hook those up to a 3,500 watt inverter and run 3,500 watts off of a lithium-ion battery bank if it comes down to that. Run fridges and freezers, that kind of thing.
Or if you need a portable PDP-1134.
Yeah, that was a proof of concept. It was great. So.
Hey, who doesn't need one of those? CGC West Coast. I wonder how clean is the power with all the different loads switching?
It seems pretty clean. It's got an electronic voltage regulator. How that works at that amperage, I have no idea. I can imagine it on a breadboard, but I can't really picture it at that scale. But it does say it has electronic voltage regulation. And I noticed that you can hear the generator shift loads, but the lights don't change. It's not like the lights get dim. So you'll hear the generator, something will kick in, like a heated floor or a big pump or something, and you'll hear the generator load up, but you don't see a drop in voltage in the short term. So it's pretty steady.
And you're talking the lights in your house you don't see dim, not the lights on the generator. Okay.
Yeah. And now these are also mostly LED, so maybe it's not as obvious as it used to be. But
that was going to be my other comment was, they're probably LEDs in there.
Yeah.
Maybe if they aren't dimmable, you may not notice it. So
right.
Old fart, PHART, which I don't know. I might have to change my name to.
Is it old PH. With an E on the end?
It's the genuine old timey PHART.
There's The Simpsons where they go to the bar and it's in the medieval setting. It's ye old pube.
Both with an E.
Yeah. They had to eat everything.
That makes it really old when you add the E. Yeah, yeah. He says, did I see a sense box in one of those panels?
You did, actually. I got a Sense a couple of years ago, and then I got an extension so that you could actually monitor 2 panels, but that only still covered 2 of the panels, and so I couldn't cover all 3 panels. I also found it to be a complete piece of nonsense, and maybe others had a better experience with it than me, but it's supposed to automatically identify loads, and it had no mapping to actual loads in my house that I could figure out. It would say there's a motor running. Well, that's good. Is it a pool pump? Is it a washing machine? I have no idea. And it wasn't very helpful in me figuring that out. So
about as helpful as a prank phone caller. Is your refrigerator running?
Yeah, you better catch it.
Yeah. He asked, how do you like that? He says he's been looking at some way to read all of his breaker loads without having to shell out for the 40 current transformers and a DAQ to collect them. So,
yeah, the only way I would probably trust it is if you had a probe go to each zone. But for me, that's a lot of zones. So I haven't found one that'll do that many zones. And that would be the only way I really trust it. And what am I going to learn? That the big things take a lot of power, don't use them as much. So I don't want to pay for that privilege if I don't have to.
Which motor is on? Yeah.
Right.
Cirrhosis. So
That's
he's
rough.
been knighted. He was just osis. Now he's cirrhosis.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was. I don't think. Yeah, that one wasn't televised, but that was. We still had the Queen. So they actually made it a law that says you can't have a generator unless it's capable of supplying 100% of the power your panel's rated for.
Yeah, it cannot be asked to power more than the generator is rated for, as I understand it. And I'm a layman. I'm not an electrician. I'm not a lawyer. So take this for what it's worth. But based on the third-hand knowledge of what the contractors told me, it is that whatever you have as a permanent standby generator can't be overtaxed. Now, if you have a portable generator, they make some allowances for that. But on a permanent standby generator, it's got to be able to either disconnect loads so it doesn't get overloaded, or be able to supply whatever load is actually being tapped. So,
okay. DCS cockpit. Why so many transfer switches? You only have one utility meter. Why not transfer the entire service?
because believe it or not, 200 amp transfer switches are like 1/10 the price, if that, of a 600 amp transfer switch. And I think it's kind of supply and demand. Once you're into 600 amps, you're talking about a mall or a small, a strip mall, that kind of thing. And those are really expensive, tens of thousands of dollars. Whereas you can get a 200 amp one, not cheap, but they're much, much more affordable. So running 3 of the 200 amps, since the power was already broken out that way anyway, worked out just as efficient, but a fair bit cheaper than one big cutoff.
Yeah, and there's a little bit, he goes on later and he says, the only time we ever do multiple switches to transfer a residence or business with multiple meters and separate panels. He says, you can't have more than 400 amp service, I'm sure. Well, like you said, you got 600, so
right.
Not so sure. Yeah. Anyway, we got that one. C. Bradley, 4466. Is a generator legal in Washington? I thought they were outlawing all petrol devices.
Petrol? Oh, I've heard that they're getting rid of natural gas for like stoves and stuff in new construction. They're not going around confiscating stoves. From my cold dead body shall they take my natural gas generator. But
yeah, you and Charlton Heston.
Exactly. That's why we had that amendment, the gas generator amendment.
They're doing the same in Vancouver here as well, that new construction that's no natural gas. Yeah.
Yeah, that varies by region. Like here, all our power is nuclear or hydro. So it actually makes some sense to do things electrically that you would do with natural gas in other regions. But if you're in Saskatchewan, where it's like we burn coal to make power, then natural gas is probably a better alternative ecologically than a heated floor powered by electricity. So it totally depends on what your power source is locally. And since here we're on very clean power, I'm not too concerned. It's also very affordable power because we have an abundance of it, it seems.
There you go. Roberte Bennett. My question is how much natural gas a generator that size consumes, excuse me, at half power. I guess if you can afford a setup like that, the cost of natural gas is of no consequence.
No. You still care. It's 479 cubic feet per hour at half load, as far as I understand. That was the number I saw.
479 cubic feet.
Yeah. Now, what your price is for 479 cubic feet of gas will vary depending on what your gas supplier charges, but that's right. The amount. So,
okay. James Aep. Dave, what's the ongoing maintenance and costs on something like this? What is known to have wear and tear and need periodic replacement or servicing? What's the estimated lifetime of the generator?
Well, the
idea on some of that
genset is
stuff?
probably, yeah, I think the genset is pretty much indefinite, the actual generator part. But the engine is really just a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. So it calls for an oil change every 100 hours or once a year, whichever happens sooner. And I think there's a fan belt. Beyond that, there's really not many serviceable parts. You might change spark plugs every 15 years in it or something like that. But for the most part, you're just maintaining a standard 4-cylinder engine. So maintenance is pretty low, and it's all very easy to get at. I don't do it because we have a maintenance plan in this first year, but looks pretty easy to do going forward. So
Philip Kerman said, did you let it rest once every 24 hours, or did it need
Nope.
extra oil?
Nope, didn't use any oil as far as I know, and ran around the clock for the entire time.
So like 7-8 days, 24 hours.
6.5 days, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. We're going to get all
Well,
mathy.
I don't want to say a week, and then somebody busts me on. Oh, dude, it was not a week, man.
Oh, well, now I can't leave that comment. Hey, Tier Senior, how long is natural gas service guaranteed to continue without electric power?
As far as I know, it continues on its own because natural gas pumping is powered by natural gas combustion. So the big turbines that pump it are actually powered by the natural gas they're pumping. Again, I'm not a natural gas engineer or a.
So it's a perpetual motion machine that,
It is.
Provides
As
all
long as the smelly
the-
stuff keeps coming out, it just runs.
yeah, they add that. The Agent Smith, it's almost 2025. How can you still consider gas generators? Solar panels are dirt cheap nowadays, and storage batteries are more affordable. Get lower bills every day and emergency power with no noise and smell.
Yeah, if I was in a smaller property and I thought I could last for a while with batteries and solar, I would do that. Now, the two challenges are I'm in Seattle, which has long periods of not being sunny. So you could get an outage after a storm. And of course, the weather's not great. So you don't have any sun for a week and you're operating on 20 or 30% of your panel's output. Maybe you can't make up your base load now. So you're running off battery and you're not going to have a lot of battery for a long period. Now, in a house like in this setup, it would take like 12 power walls or something. I don't have physical space for that many power walls. Well, if you designed it in, I guess you could do it. But 12 would probably last you a long time because that's to supply the main, 600 amps, but you're not pulling anywhere near that. So if you're careful, I'm sure you could probably last many, many days, not a week maybe, but several days. That's my guess anyway, but it would be really expensive too.
If you're in Arizona or California, Nevada, you got a different situation.
Right.
Even in Saskatchewan. Ted Johnson, 64. Fascinating video. Every Generac I've looked at, including the 65 kilowatt one, needs to have an oil change every 100 hours of runtime. So every 4 days. So again, he's the same question. Do you have to do it yourself? And did Washington Generator come out and handle it?
I'm on a maintenance program, so when they come out to do it, I'm not really sure. It's not like they turned up 4 days after it started running and we're ready to change the oil. So I don't think that's that big of a deal. Oil is not going to degrade that much. It degrades more from being really hot. The shear action breaks down the long chain hydrocarbons a little bit, and you lose viscosity over time, but you still have lubricity. So it's not like 4 days in that your oil is not providing protection. So I'm pretty sure you think of it as a car running 60 miles an hour for 24 hours a day is like 1,200 miles times 4 days.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're doing math
you're
again.
almost near an oil change at that point, 8,000 miles, 10,000 miles. But
So do you need to notify them, or do they know when the machine's running?
no, well, they might be able to tell because there is a wireless link and stuff, but I don't think they spy on my generator. Time to replace the magenta toner in your generator.
Oh, it's always the magenta. Slow 6B Heitmar, or Slob Heitmar. After prepping for gas line outage, then comes sewer and drinkable water. The list is endless. I would think the generator could run on gasoline or diesel also.
This one can run on propane or natural gas. I have backup generators that will run on gasoline if it comes down to that. But no, this one is not tri-fuel. It's just a dual fuel. So
Okay. And then underscore Tim. Your septic needs power?
yeah. So septic runs into one big tank, settling tank, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better visual. And then that pumps into a second tank the sort of filtration tank, and then it pumps out of that tank into a field that is a set of pipes with holes in them in the lawn. But you need pumps to get them from each stage, and there's floats to regulate it and so on and so forth. So yeah, you do need power. And if you don't have power, that first tank will just eventually fill up. So you do a couple loads of laundry, you start flushing toilets, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah. It's not a gravity system, eh?
No.
Ligby, why not have 10 minutes of battery backup additional to prevent any downtime at all?
Well, because the amount of battery backup you'd have to supply that base load of 600 amps or whatever you're really pulling, let's say 150 amps even, which you can't do as I understand it. Even if you could do that, is going to be a lot of batteries. So,
Redneck Brian, classic. Charging electric vehicles off a gas generator, LOL. I wonder if you were to go completely off-grid, solar with a battery bank, how much space would the battery bank take up? Since I know, that's an average question that is asked. Also, would it be economical?
I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of lithium-ion battery backup now. Can't do the whole house. In terms of the efficiency, I was trying to think what we're doing in this case is we're using an engine running at its peak efficiencies because it's tuned to run at 1800 RPM. And, you know, engines are somewhat efficient at 600 RPM, somewhat efficient at 6,000 RPM. And then through it, there is a spectrum of compromise. So this engine is tuned to just run at its efficient speed and produce electricity that is then later converted to motion by the car. And that step is like 90%. So can you preserve 90% of the gains that you get by running this engine at a dedicated load with a turbocharger at a dedicated cycle at a specific RPM? And I don't know the answer. That sounds like a good question for ChatGPT, but suffice to say, it's not intuitively obvious whether it is actually inefficient to make power with a gas generator and power your electric car. I'm not sure.
And I guess we're talking about emergency situations or urgent situations or
yeah. I'm not planning on living on this thing, so
yeah. You have a different plan for when the zombies come, right?
Yeah. I've seen I Am Legend. I've got it down.
This just holds you over for the first couple of weeks till things settle. Joey's cleaning lady. Is the charger on the wall or in the vehicle?
So it's all AC current at this point. So this is a Tesla charger. There's going to be a box on the wall that I presume steps the voltage up because it uses a fairly thin cable. So it's not pushing 50 amps of current through that fairly small cable. It's probably stepped it up by 4 times and it's pushing 12 amps at 400 and some volts. I don't know the specifics. So there's that part. But once it gets to the car, now you've got AC voltage and you've got about 11,000 watts or 11.5. So the car can do maybe 12,000 watts of power conversion to DC to store it in the batteries. And I think that's about all the car can do is 50 amps. So if you do more than that, you've got to be supplying DC current, which, you know, at a Tesla supercharger is a direct DC injection. So the car has to do no work except distribute the power. But when you're charging from an AC load, the car actually has to convert that to DC, and that's done in the car, to answer the question.
There you go. Duro 20. Are all of his cars electric?
No. My daily driver is a twin turbo V8 gasoline car. And I have many old cars. I'm ready for the EMP. I've got cars with actual, honest to goodness, points, breaker ignition. No transistors except in the radio. So the radio may not work, but I'll be driving down the street. So unless you can't get fuel, and then I would like to have a diesel. But that presumes I don't have an M2 out somewhere in the back that can burn anything.
That's right. What was that shifty eye thing? Never mind. Move on. Distilled. Why would you invest so much into being independent of the grid and then use EVs, which are a catastrophic drain on independence? Not smart. To be independent, you must use the best tool for every job, and that means internal combustion engine cars for transportation. You diversify your energy sources and make efficient use of each one. Using a generator to charge an EV is only academically different from putting it on a trailer and dragging it around with you.
Wait, so the contention is that using an electric car makes you dependent on electricity, which is pretty much everywhere, as opposed to having a gasoline car where you have to go suckle at the teeth of your oily master every week. I don't know. I don't think either one is very independent because they both require massive energy input. The difference would be that the electric car is about 90% in efficiency in converting that power you put in into actual motion, whereas a gasoline car is like 30%. So,
or you get a Chevy Bolt that has a gas engine that doesn't drive the car but just puts
that was
energy
the Volt.
into the battery.
The Volt.
Oh, right, the Volt. Yeah, the Bolt is the next version. Yeah.
I would like to do an episode on, I saw an article on the transmission in the Volt, and it's ingenious in the way that the electric motor can spin the planetary, and then the gas motor can spin the planet gears, and something else turns the sun gear, and it all contributes to the output motion of the thing, even though they're all working in unison. It was really ingenious. I was like, nobody knows this technology is in this car because it's kind of an otherwise uninspiring car, but very cool transmission system.
Neato. Andrew Doherty. Is this not a bit smug, Dave?
This episode? No, I really tried hard not to make it smug or a flex. You know, I showed my front door. I didn't pan around the entire home and look at my grand piano is powered by my generator and any kind of nonsense like that.
Oh,
So,
I thought you weren't going to tell him about that. No.
so yeah, I tried to be kind of low key about it, but still trying to make it interesting in that, look, this is a massive load and a massive generator. And that's kind of the compelling value proposition of the video is not how does the other half live, but how do people with big loads power it? If I was running a shopping mall, I'd make the same video. I just don't have a shopping mall. I've just got a house. So
Yeah, and if you had a smaller place, you wouldn't need as big a generator, and you wouldn't be doing an episode on a big generator.
exactly.
It's kind of one sort of, yeah, it does the other, but it's the,
So no, sorry if it seems smug. I was trying for the opposite. So
yeah, it's not the intention. Superluminal, tax write-off?
some portion of it could be because it does power all the systems here in the shop, which is a for-profit venture. Break even anyway. I don't know. I'm not a tax attorney. That'd be my third disclaimer this episode. So I don't know.
That's not the reason you do it. Lars Gregerson, how do you connect your home network to fiber and Starlink at the same time?
I've got a unified Dream Machine Pro, which has 2 WAN ports. So it has 2 10 gig input ports, or is it a 10 and a 1? Doesn't matter because my fiber, which is 5 gigabits, goes into the 10 gig port, and then the Starlink goes into the other port. And it uses the Ziply fiber as the primary internet unless it times out for a few seconds, then it falls over to Starlink automatically. And the people in the house, you know, for streaming, you don't see an interruption. You might see a few seconds pause in a browser, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's because the actual router, which is the Unify machine, which I have for sale on eBay right now. Check it out. Actually, I'm selling that in a 10 gig switch because I upgraded to 25 gig. So I'm selling some of the old equipment. It's faster is better, man.
And more is more. Chris Snyder, 7968. If I may, what is the model of your UPS? Thank you.
The UPS, I don't know the model number. Both of the ones that I use, both in the server closet in the house and in the Storinator closet, are from Extreme. X, the letter X, Extreme. No E on the front. And I've been really happy with them. The batteries in the one are lithium ion. The other one I think is lead acid. So I have one of each. Never had to replace either. And I'm assuming the lithium ion one will last pretty much forever. Or I'm hoping anyway.
Vandy, 6578. Hi, Dave. Love all your videos. Don't understand all of them, but still love them. I think there's a few folks, myself included, in that. On one of your previous videos, you made mention of a PC system backup. You had said something about not using the Synology backup because you didn't like the restore process. He's using the Synology one, and he doesn't like the restore process. Then you said you replaced that with some other backup system. Can you please refresh his memory on that system?
Yeah, the one I was recommending is probably Macrium Reflect, which is a backup software solution that I used for years before I got a NAS to back up to external drives. And the software is really nice. I haven't used it in, like I said, a couple of years, so how much it's progressed, I don't really know. My problem with Synology was the few times that I needed it, my experience was I went and I got the restore software and I booted it up and I tried to restore my backup set. That goes, oh, but this is not the exact same version of the restore software that you made your backup with. Not telling me either version number in the dialog, mind you, of which one I needed. And then you had to figure out what, 4-digit decimal version of the Synology client you had to get the backup software that matched when your backup was made. And I was just like, I don't want to trust my data to this process. It seems really, really fragile. So, I'm of the opinion that if you make a backup with version 3 and you install version 4, it should still be able to read version 3's backups, but we'll see.
Backwards compatibility is kind of expected.
Yeah.
Oh,
when I was a kid.
It's required, yeah. Eric Wanner, I'm curious about the Ford F-150 hybrid configured with the 3.5-liter Power Boost trademark engine and opting for the 7.2 kilowatt Pro Power onboard generator. Supposedly, or should I say supposedly?
No, please don't.
Supposedly, you could power a home with this, but not sure how long. We just need gas stations to be open. Plus, you could move it to a neighbor's house if needed. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the most efficient way to have a generator, because 7,000 watts is not a very big generator. That's a small, not a small, but a medium-sized portable gas generator. So in terms of using your truck for that, if you don't have other purposes for it, like a worksite truck where you're running your skill saw or your table saw off it or whatever, then it would make sense. I wouldn't get it just as a home backup solution, but if you do have it, then it's going to be able to run about a 30 amp or a 40 amp circuit probably. So, yeah, 30 amp, I would guess. That's enough to run, your fridges and your freezers and your lights. You're not going to run your vacuum cleaner and your hairdryer and your oven or anything like that, but it will run the basics.
Aren't there some power output capabilities in the Teslas?
Just the Cybertruck, I think, is the only one that has it.
Oh, that's the only one.
Yeah, and it'll do 50 amps out of the outlet in the back, and you can also plug it in and charge another Tesla with that if you want. So,
wow. The Rivian, does that have?
Not as far as I know. The Ford F-150 Lightning does, and the Cybertruck does, but that's, as far as I know, the only ones I'm familiar with.
Okay. Error code 67. Dave, absolutely love this episode. You've really grown in your presentation skills since your first video. Your humor really comes through and had me laughing. No question, just wanted it flagged. So he threw a question mark in there and caught me. Dave's Attic.
Well, I appreciate it.
Doesn't hurt to have a couple of those in there every now and then. Badger, how did you make the fire vortex light in the back? Did you print it? I can install the LEDs with WLED software.
Yes, this is actually a Home Depot lantern, and it was just white LEDs and didn't do anything besides light up. So I ripped the LEDs out of it. I put my own LEDs in it, which are individually addressable, and a power supply and software and an ESP32 module, and it's running nightdriverled.com code. And you could certainly do WLED, whether it has a sexy flame effect like this. I don't know. It's built in a night driver. Does it come with LED? We don't know. We don't ask. We don't want to know. But no, WLED is cool too. So very useful for getting stuff up and running quick.
Yeah. Last question from the Surviving Week Without Power. Nova Gunner. What do you do for a living? You seem well researched and informed.
Oh, I run a YouTube channel. That means I know everything. Absolute authority on all topics I cover.
Yeah. And what do you do for a living? How long you been retired now?
2013,
years?
11 years, yeah.
11 years, yeah. Starting to get the hang of it a bit?
Yeah, starting to like it now.
It's growing on you. Okay, we got a few questions here just from our last Shop Talk one. How you made your own AI telemarketer trap.
Oh, yeah.
Wizard S. Were you trying to think of Russell Crowe or Paul Hogan? The former played the lead in Gladiator. The latter made some fun films about a crocodile hunter. Both are worthy of note. And it was most definitely Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I can't believe we couldn't place that. I can't believe neither one of us could place that. We're like, Gladiator, the guy in Gladiator. We just couldn't get it. And I'm like,
it was 7 minutes after we stopped recording that, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm like, Russell Crowe. It just popped into my head. I texted you. Yeah, jeez. And terrible.
I was trying to guess the movie name that I remembered him being in. And I'm like, Jolly Roger, Romper Room. And it's Romper Stomper is the movie I was looking for.
Yeah,
but,
a couple people
which I've never seen, but
yeah,
I'm familiar with it. So
yeah. Then we got Martin Dooley. Recorder action? Please.
Sadly, I don't have a recorder. If I did, I would just rock out. It'd be like Gordon Lightfoot singing in the background, and I'd be playing the recorder. But I don't have one. So
yeah. That was my 3-chord gourd thing that I was expecting to get some heat for. But and then you're not the only one who gets some heat. So I threw this one in. It wasn't on your list. But Tiana Lucas, hope you won't take this as a negative comment, but could you do this alone? List viewers' questions and talk your heart out. It'd be more informative and entertaining.
Ouch, but I can't read. It's my great shame. That's why Glenn has to come in here and read the questions to me.
I'm not the co-host. I'm just the crutch. Yeah,
that's right. Otherwise, it'd be like, Why do you?
So they're going to have to settle for less informative and less entertaining and tolerate my contribution for a little bit here.
Well, we appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad you do. I think there's other too. Someone else piped in there. They're okay with it. So we'll let that one settle for a while.
They all sting a little bit. At least they're not making fun of your teeth or your hair or your fatness or any of this stuff.
Now you pointed out my teeth and my hair and my fatness. So hit me up on that one. Make sure to throw a question mark where I won't see it, though. And that's how we operate here. If you're watching this or watching Dave's Garage, you got questions, put a question mark on them. I pull those out every week, and we gather up some of the good ones and some of the not so good ones, and we chat about them once a week here in Dave's Attic on Shop Talk.
Yeah, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. If you just happen to randomly get this episode, it's probably not on the same channel, Dave's Garage, that you're used to. So, but I don't want to sound like we're exiting because we're just part way done. We've got another video to talk about. Which one is it?
No, it's just the two, man.
There's just the two. Is that all I did this week? Was I slacking?
Yeah,
What I usually put out like 4 a week.
Yeah, the other one you'd spit out like 3, man. So this one was just one. I had to take a second look, but I think I hit 3 of them on the last one. So yeah, we're tapped out, man. All
right. Well, we'll leave it there. Well, thanks very much for joining me tonight, Glenn, and thanks to the audience for being here as well. Had a great time, and we hope to see you next time right here in Dave's Garage. This little chair will be waiting for one of you, and a rocking chair for another who likes to rock, and a big armchair for 2 to curl up in. All next time on Dave's Garage.